In a world where all mystery is dissolved, where everyone is overexposing themselves, there is one figure that stands out of them all. And the source of her power does not come from her beautiful face, or from having the best looking body, or from coming from a rich background. The true source of her dynamic and diabolically seductive powers comes from somewhere deep inside of every single one of them, and something that me, you, and everybody else can bring out today. And that's Bella Delphine. Out of all the people out online, she plays the game of power, mystery, and seduction better than anyone that I've seen in modern day history. I am not even exaggerating. She was able to create an OnlyFans empire all without getting naked. She seduced millions of simps to her OnlyFans account and keeping them intrigued without ever getting naked on camera. My lord, she literally applied every important law of power that there is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a game. Today we're gonna learn the game of creating mystery, of playing up to men's fantasy, and all because she played on the number one thing. She became every man's fantasy come to life, ladies and gentlemen. Marilyn Monroe does not have nothing on her. Kim Kardashian has nothing on her. This girl knows the game. And today we're gonna reveal how she did it. So stay tuned.
Belle Delphine had the entire internet wrapped around her finger. Viewers, simps, other YouTubers, it didn't even matter if you liked her or not, everyone was always curious as to what she might do next. And as at the time of posting this video, she hasn't been active on OnlyFans in almost a month, which is pretty insane considering she used to post up to 40 photos per day.
And I could promise you, if she didn't take a break from OnlyFans, the effect that she created would not have been created. It only happened because she obeyed the law of power, of withdrawing to create fantasy and intrigue.
Belle Delphine removed two core components from her content that have been keeping her persona interesting: mystery and intrigue. Belle Delphine discussed on the H3 podcast that one of her main strategies for standing out as unique was that she'd mix her cutesy image with the strangest, most unrelated topics to build curiosity around her character.
Now watch what the art of seduction says about creating fantasy and curiosity.
The Siren is the most ancient seductress of them all. Her prototype is the goddess Aphrodite. It is her nature to have a mythic quality about her. But do not imagine she is a thing of the past or of legend and history. She represents a powerful male fantasy of a highly sexual, supremely confident, alluring female offering endless pleasure and a bit of danger. Everything must dazzle, but must also be harmonious so that no single ornament draws attention. Your presence must be charged, larger than life, a fantasy come true. Ornament is used to cast a spell and distract. The Siren can also use clothing to hint at the sexual, at times overtly, but more often by suggesting it rather than screaming it. That would make you seem manipulative.
I've got the taking cute pictures and stuff, but that's not gonna really do it. So I decided to do weird things in the combination as well as being sexy. And I'll be like cracking an egg in my mouth or something. And then people will share that, be like, this girl's so weird and quirky or whatever.
This happened to me one time when I met a girl who she was beautiful, but nothing that stands out in my mind, right? She had a basic look, but a beautiful girl. To me, what made her stand out, in my opinion, to the other women, was that she was a weird girl. Now, her weirdness wasn't an act, okay? Her weirdness wasn't a facade, because you can't be weird and you're not weird. It doesn't show through. What you have to find is, what are the natural qualities in you? What are the qualities in you that makes you unique? And apply an air of mystery, wrap it around mystery, so that then it could come across as natural. Men love a mystery. Men love a weird, quirky, mysterious woman. It envelops their imagination a lot more than a woman that looks straightforward and normal like the bunch.
This would show in videos such as Meet My Best Friend, in which Belle Delphine would dress somewhat provocatively and play with an octopus throughout the entire video. While certainly being a little bit on the weird side, this video worked exactly as intended because, as you might expect, many other influencers went to the effort of talking about the weirdness on their own channel.
Anything slightly irrational and dreamlike. The uncanny, the mix of the real and the unreal, has immense power over our imaginations. The fantasies you bring to life for your targets should not be bizarre or exceptional.
Because what you don't want to do, you don't want to engage their rational side. Their rational side is on their prefrontal cortex. That is the part of the brain that makes rational decisions. Understand that love and romanticism has nothing to do with the irrational, with the rational. Because if that was the case, most of these guys wouldn't marry women who are known to be manipulators. Most of us wouldn't get in relationships because a lot of the times we get into relationships for irrational reasons. You never decide who you love. Love just happens to you. What's the part of the brain that is in control of this decision making? The prefrontal cortex. What's the part of the brain that results in irrational behavior? Your amygdala. When it's overstimulated, it takes over your rational side of your brain. So stop trying to appeal to rationality, to making sense, and appeal more to emotion. And the way to do that is to play on the man's fantasies. Find out what are the fantasies of the man who you're trying to seduce. For example, if the man you're seeing likes Sailor Moon, if he's a fan of anime, become a character from an anime, or even temporarily strip yourself of your normal way of dressing and become that fantasy figure that he loved. Become Sailor Moon, become Winnie the Pooh, become a dog if he likes a dog. It doesn't matter. Stimulate that fantasy so that then he can start seeing you through the eyes of his imagination.
They should be rooted in reality with a hint of the strange, the theatrical, the occult. In Talk of Destiny, for example. You vaguely remind people of something in their childhood or a character in a film or book. The secret to creating an uncanny effect is to keep it subtle.
In addition to this, Belle Delphine would become known for her infamous Ahegao face.
I think the first thing that went big was the Ahegao face,
which also perfected the mix of mystery, intrigue, and attractiveness, while helping her to stand out as unique after many attributed this face specifically to Belle Delphine.
The image you project does not have to make sense. It doesn't have to make sense. What she's doing, that doesn't make any sense. It looks like a character out of some fantasy anime. And you might try to make it rational, and that will be your biggest mistake. You disengage the fantasy when you make sense of things. But when you don't understand something, what your brain does then is that it stimulates fantasy. Your brain is a problem-solving machine. Give it an unsolvable problem, and all of a sudden your imagination will go wild.
All of this seems like common knowledge now that she's come onto podcasts and explained her story, but in the beginning, Belle was completely silent. She withheld as much information as possible, so when you were unavoidably introduced to her content with nothing more than this photo on your Twitter timeline, intrigue was almost guaranteed.
This girl was not aware of what she was doing. The reason why I say that is because she says that she comes from a conservative background, meaning she was trying to hide parts of her personality as a way to preserve her privacy. Little did she know, and this is how the laws of power and the strategies of seductions are discovered. They're discovered by mistake. She did not know that by her concealing parts of her life, it actually created a sense of mystery. It was the key to her seduction.
Attention and made her famous and wealthy was her mystery. People are enthralled by mystery because it invites constant interpretation. They never tire of it. The mysterious cannot be grasped, and what cannot be seized and consumed creates power.
That's why your exes have so much power over you, because an ex becomes a figment of your imagination, a link to the past, a nostalgic point in your mind where they occupy a space of fantasy and not reality. And so then whenever you feel bad, whenever you feel depressed, you go back to those moments as a way to relieve the tension of reality, to revert back to a childhood type of state where you just imagine and your imagination completely runs wild, because it was only when you were a child that your imagination went wild. When you grew as an adult, reality could be heavy on you. And as a result, you stop imagining because you're forced to be rational. But that is a weight that lays heavy on the one who wears it. And as a result, whenever we find anything that allows us to be transported to that fantasy world, we cling on to it. We love it. We hold on to it. Even though it's not real, What we want is just to imagine, to escape reality.
World that is ever more banal, that has had its mystery and myth squeezed out of it. We secretly crave enigmas, people or things that cannot be instantly interpreted, seized, and consumed. That is the power of the mysterious. It invites layers of interpretation, excites our imagination, seduces us into believing that it conceals something marvelous. The world has become so familiar and its inhabitants so predictable that what wraps itself in mystery will almost always draw the limelight to it and make us watch it.
And then it came to me and it was like, bathwater, like bottled bathwater.
In July 2019, Belle announced that she'll be selling her bathwater for $30 per jar, which hilariously sold out in less than 2 days.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do not want you doing this part. This is not what I'm talking about.
YouTubers from every corner of the website joined in on the madness, each of which selling a little bit of their soul for a slight uptick in views after they inevitably drank the bathwater on camera. On the print media side of things, the stupidity of the campaign prompted news article after news article, some of which even going so far as to claim that the bathwater gave an STD to over 50 people.
There was that fake article about the herpes or whatever that spread.
However, these negative articles were still a massive positive for the growth of her overall image.
Everything is judged by its appearance. What is unseen counts for nothing. Never let yourself get lost in the crowd then, or buried in oblivion. Stand out. Be conspicuous at all cost. Make yourself a magnet of attention by appearing larger, more colorful, more mysterious than the bland and timid masses.
You could create this effect by literally finding what is your fantasy archetype. For example, for me, this is not intentional, people, okay? This is not intentional. The only reason why I wear this is because my hair is big, right? And sometimes I used to get in my head and I will wear this. And also I have a big forehead as well, right? And so sometimes I wear this to protect my face, and I like to have a scrubby beard. I like to have my hair big. I'm dark skinned. And so people see and they just imagine Jimi Hendrix. They just imagine Lenny Kravitz. So without me knowing, I create that fantasy. So any woman who's into that type of guy will see me, not to a certain point, not to an extent, you know what I'm saying? But close enough approximation where they can superimpose their fantasies on me and then live out their fantasies by dating me, as an example. So you want to find out who is your archetype that people already fantasize about. With her, she is a pixie girl. She is an anime character. I remember one time, I had this one girl from Mexico City. She looked like an anime character. Jesus Christ, people. Jesus Christ on the cross. This girl was hot. Don't get me wrong, she was hot. But the fact that she looked like an anime character. The fact that she looked like a Sailor Moon character. Lord have mercy. Oh, yes, and then she had a girlfriend too. Oh, Lord, let's keep going.
They're bad are still kind of good.
It's good press. It's always good press.
Yeah.
By the end of the bathwater campaign, Belle Delphine had well and truly catapulted herself into the mainstream.
To avoid being a flash in the pan and having your notoriety eclipsed by another, you must not discriminate between different types of attention. In the end, every kind will work in your favor.
The only attention that's not good are the taboo attentions. For example, if you're a P in the files, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? That's not the attention that I'm talking about. Any crime that's related to the number 6, if you guys know what I'm talking about, that's not the kind of attention that I want. No scandal that has to deal with number 6 crimes or P in the files, none of that kind of stuff. You can't, that's not the kind of attention because that destroys careers. You could have other, or even scamming people. That's not the type of attention, right? Where you betraying the people who follow you, their trust. No, not anything other than that. Anything other than that, like you're saying you're not from here when you're really from there, or maybe they think you're, everything is fine, but those are the only exceptions that I don't want you guys to find yourself in. And if you do, don't tell people you watch my channel.
Once in the limelight, you must constantly renew it by adapting and varying your method of courting attention. If you don't, the public will grow tired, will take you for granted, and will move on to a newer star. The game requires constant vigilance and creativity.
But in the process, there were obviously going to be setbacks. By this point in time, Belle Delphine had built what many referred to as an army of simps, who had seemingly fallen in love with Belle Delphine and her anime image.
You see what she did, right? And also, she created a cult-like following, right? And the way that she did that was that one, she named her followers. Now, it's always good to name your followers because it gives them an identity of sorts, right? It's not like you naming your followers will not create a cult, okay? But it just gives them a name, it gives them an identity. It gives the entity of your followers a way to unite, a way to gravitate towards each other. Like Christ created Christians, Buddha created Buddhists, Delexis creates Delexians, right? Right? But not a lot. That sounds too toxic. That sounds too what do you call it? Too cultish. Delexians. It sounds like futuristic cult. Not good, right? But the point is that she gave her followers a name. And that's a big one. That's a way to create a cult-like following. But again, people, a cult-like following isn't creating a cult. Because cult is short for what? Culture, right? Culture. If you notice cultures, they all have a similar way of dressing, a similar way of talking, a similar way of looking at the world. But then you have friends, they're also a culture. Friends are cultures. They all kind of look the same. For example, emo friends, they all kind of have the same dressing, they listen to certain music the same. Or even like, for example, when rappers go from poor to rich, they stop being friends with the people who in the past. Why? Because they start hanging around with other people of different economic backgrounds. I mean, of different economic, being richer, right? So they hang out with richer people. And as a result, they stop relating to their old culture. So culture is any group, right? And any successful group has a cult-like aspect. For example, I go to a school. It's not a cult, but we love classical art. You know, like if we see you doing any impressionism, they're gonna give you a side eye. Why? Because we're such a good school. We're so good that it's culty in a good way. Like any school that doesn't have a cult-like aspect in terms of how zealous they are with their method, it's not that good. You need that cult-like aspect. Right, look at schools, right? The schools have pride for school. Even certain organizational groups, LGBTQ, right? They have a cult-like aspect where it's me versus you. And if you're not with us, you're the enemy, right? But the difference is this, that what makes a cult destructive is if people who are not part of the cult are considered horrible human beings. If you denigrate and dehumanize people all because they don't follow your beliefs, then that's a destructive cult. The good cults, like for example, my school or any school that's good and that teaches good, will understand the differences and will not blame will not assert. Will not say that you're evil all because you don't agree with them. They'll just say you have a different opinion. You get what I'm saying? There's not a destruction of character when it's a good cult. Because everything's a cult, people. Any group is a cult. It's just you have constructive cults and then you have destructive cults.
First, they would draw a man in with an alluring appearance, designing their makeup and adornment to fashion the image of a goddess come to life. By showing only glimpses of flesh, they would tease a man's imagination, stimulating the desire not just for sex, but for something greater, the chance to possess a fantasy figure.
After her Instagram account had been banned and it was becoming clear that she wasn't going to get it back, there was a clear decline in her motivation and social media posting frequency. She suddenly stopped uploading to Patreon, she took down her merch site, all while her YouTube became completely inactive.
And this is the point where she discovered the power of absence. Once you've established yourself in a group, once you establish a connection with the person, the next strategy that superpowered her success was that she withdrew.
This short break would last for approximately 3 months, at which point many were questioning whether or not she would even return. However, there was still so much mystery surrounding her persona. She had to return, right? Well, yes, she would. But what came as a surprise to many was the method by which she would return, simultaneously shocking the internet and creating more hype around her name than ever before.
Let your enemies advance. time is more important than space. By refusing to fight, you infuriate them and feed their arrogance. They will soon overextend themselves and start making mistakes. Time will reveal them as rash and you as wise. Sometimes you can accomplish most by doing nothing.
This applies, for example, let's just say somebody breaks up with you. Rather than begging, accept it. Don't fight it. Say, okay, Tyrone, if you want to break up with me, that's fine. And you don't do nothing, you don't go back to them. Eventually, like boomerangs, dicks always come back. They always come back. As long as you don't pursue the person, as long as you improve on yourself, you look better because men are visual, they will always come back. It is a law of nature. Dicks always come back. They're like boomerang.
On the 8th of October 2019, Belle Delphine would make a post to her Twitter page stating, "I got arrested, LOL," alongside a Metropolitan Police mugshot. Following this, there would be a tweet clarifying the mugshot which stated, "I swear to God this girl came to my party and stole my hamster. I have no idea why or who TF does that. I spray painted the F out of her car and got arrested. At least I got my hamster back," accompanied by 4 photos of the apparent stunt. Unsurprisingly, Twitter and YouTube completely gobbled the story up, with the main point of discussion being whether or not the whole thing was fake. However, they didn't get the answer immediately, as after making this Twitter post about being arrested, Belle Delphine would completely disappear for a period of 8 whole months.
Too much circulation makes the price go down. The more you are seen and heard from, the more common you appear. If you are already established in a group, temporary withdrawal from it will make you more talked about, even more admired. You must learn when to leave, create value through scarcity.
The key to withdrawing is to make sure that when it's time to withdraw, you make sure that you don't reveal some things. You make sure that you keep the person that before you withdrew, you kept some information to yourself. It's almost like the Library of Alexandria, right? We wouldn't care about the information that was burnt if there were copies. The only reason why the Library of Alexandria is the most famous historical library that got burnt to the ground is because of so much information that was lost. Humans love to fill in the gaps. We need to understand what's not known. And when they're tortured with not knowing answers, just like a man who doesn't know whether or not he's going to be sentenced to death, he's going to be sentenced to death the next day, it makes that person's imagination go wild. Ladies and gentlemen, and that's the point. That's the secret to her. And I'm telling you, I don't think she was aware of it, in my opinion. I think that she just stumbled on the incredible law of power on how to stimulate the imagination of the mass.
The advantage that Belle Delphine had throughout this break was that there were still so many unanswered questions. She hadn't clarified if the arrest was real or fake, she'd barely shared anything about her personal life, plus she was yet to post any actual nudity or adult content for her army of simps. The fact that she withheld these elements created anticipation for her return. People wanted to know where she was. The story of Belle Delphine felt like it was yet to come to an end. Videos investigating her disappearance during her hiatus, such as this mega viral hit by Jabroni, would gain upwards of 8 million views in the space of less than a month.
Power is, in many ways, a game of appearances. And when you say less than necessary, you inevitably appear greater and more powerful than you are. Your silence will make other people uncomfortable. Humans are machines of interpretation and explanation. They have to know what you are thinking. When you carefully control what you reveal, they cannot pierce your intentions or your meaning. Your short answers and silences will put them on the defensive, and they will jump in, nervously filling the silence with all kinds of comments that will reveal valuable information about them and their weaknesses. They will leave a meeting with you feeling as if they had been robbed, and they will go home and ponder your every word. This extra attention to your brief comments will only add to your power,
showing that people were still well and truly invested in the Belle Delphine saga. Unsurprisingly, after her 8-month extended break had come to an end, Belle Delphine's return was legendary. Her video, simply titled "I'm Back," gained 20 million views within only a week, and it was almost as if she had never left in the first place.
A lot of people are afraid of applying this because they think that the person will lose interest. As long as you didn't overexpose yourself, as long as you kept some distance, your withdrawal will create more fascination than this interest. In fact, you You have more to lose by overexposing yourself than underexposing yourself. That's just a law of power and a law of seduction. If you and also it's just polite, people. It's not even a law of seduction to people. It's just polite. Like let people come to you. If they're really interested, let them come to you, because sometimes they don't want to come to you. Sometimes they just don't like you, and you just being hard-headed and you don't understand it.
And when he disappeared, saying he had more souls to gather into his flock, his reputation only grew in his absence. He became famous, although, in fact, he had never done a single concrete thing.
However, upon her return, Belle Delphine began to make some of the many mistakes which would ultimately result in the decline of her career. Between the months of October 2020 and December 2020, approximately 4 months after returning from her hiatus, she began to appear on podcast after podcast revealing everything there was to know about Belle Delphine.
This is why Michael Jackson was so fascinating, because he rarely did any interviews. This is why Michael Jordan is so fascinating, because he rarely does any interviews. This is why basketball players of the 80s, 70s, in the past, were more revered, had more of a legendary aura, because we rarely heard from them. Nowadays, everyone is overexposing themselves. Even myself, people. I do this because I'm trying to help people, to be honest with you. I'm not trying to play a power game. That's why I make these videos so consistent, because I want to get this message to as many people as possible. But if I was playing the power game, I wouldn't show my face that much. I wouldn't tell you where I was from. I don't do any interviews, but I wouldn't tell you about my life. I'll just make sure that I stay here and let your imagination do everything else.
Keeping a man at a proper distance creates respect, so that he doesn't get close enough to see through you or notice your weaker qualities.
Now, you guys might be saying, does that mean we can't, 1029, you guys might be saying, does that mean we can't get close to our partners? Well, if you're trying to seduce the masses, if you're trying to create a mysterious effect, unfortunately, that's how it is. Because once you get in a relationship with someone, you're gonna have to open up. You're gonna have to rely on the natural chemistry you have with them, right? And by the way, I have courses, right, that you can click on the description down below to purchase, that I talk about on how to create that love and how to create that connection in a natural way without applying so many of these strategies. You can click on the description down below. And if I have earned your subscription, hit the like button, and please subscribe to this channel if you feel like I've earned your subscription.
Welcome, Belle Delphine, to the show! Yay!
Prior to this, Belle Delphine had been excellent at keeping her life ambiguous and mysterious, only ever revealing bite-sized pieces of information regarding her actions, which ensured that the audience was always paying attention, as if they were to stop following for even a second, they might miss some vital update on what she was doing.
I heard you don't really do podcasts or interviews.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to go through them recently because I was cold turkey. I didn't do anything until recently.
Belle Delphine saw massive short-term exposure for these podcast appearances. However, in the process, she would almost completely eradicate all of the mystery, which had been guaranteeing a constant level of intrigue.
Power is, in many ways, a game of appearances. And when you say less than necessary, you inevitably appear greater and more powerful than you are. Your silence will make other people uncomfortable. Humans are machines of interpretation and explanation. They have to know what you are thinking. When you carefully control what you reveal, they cannot pierce your intentions or your meaning.
I notice when I am in a place where I don't know people, I tend to be more talkative, especially when I was younger. But as I grew up and realized that if I just shut the hell up and let people talk to me, right, and withhold some of the extroverted parts of my personality, for some mysterious reason, people just gravitate to you more. People ask you more questions, and because I am naturally an extrovert, me trying to be quiet my extrovertedness will shine through my silence. You will sense that I have more to say, but I'm withholding. That is more fascinating than me blabbering my mouth and turning you off because I can't shut the heck up.
Belle Delphine revealed that most of her publicity stunts were fake.
Is it true or is it fake? It was fake.
The release of tension is followed by a letdown, of excitement, of energy, They can even materialize as a kind of disgust directed at you by your victim, even though what is happening is really a natural emotional course.
You talked about her upbringing and reasoning for being this character in the first place.
See, I come from a very conservative family, like super religious.
And most notably, Belle Delphine even revealed that she had a boyfriend for the entirety of her social media journey.
Who's the partner?
Who's the guy?
It's my boyfriend.
There are a lot of celebrities who were told to never tell them that they're in a relationship. And the reason why is because you want them to imagine, you want the fans to imagine they have a chance. Watch what Robert Greene says about creating an aura of power by not letting people think that you're committed.
By maintaining your independence, you become the master of others, playing people against one another, making them pursue you. Do not commit to anyone, but be courted by all.
How long has that relationship been going on for?
The whole time I've been Belle Delphine.
How long is that?
3 years.
When you hold yourself back, you incur not anger, but a kind of respect. You instantly seem powerful because you make yourself ungraspable rather than succumbing to the group or to the relationship, as most people do. This aura of power only grows with time. As your reputation for independence grows, more and more people will come to desire you, wanting to be the one who gets you to commit. Desire is like a virus. If we see that someone is desired by other people, we tend to find this person desirable too. The moment you commit, the magic is gone. You become like everyone else. People will try all kinds of underhanded methods to get you to commit. They will give you gifts, shower you with favors, all to put you under obligation. Encourage the attention, stimulate their interest, but do not commit at any cost. Accept the gifts and favors if you so desire, but be careful to maintain your inner aloofness. You cannot inadvertently allow yourself to feel obligated to anyone.
But while Belle Delphine had decided to give up the mystery surrounding her character, there was still one thing keeping her fans invested in the story of Belle Delphine. The fact that she hadn't...
Notice how she is 1352. Notice how she is so aware of the way of creating a fantasy that even her picture is an anime. She is pretty much stimulating the simp's fantasies. You got to find out what is a fantasy. For example, NBA players. If you want to get with the NBA players, what do they look for? They look for the Kim Kardashian, big lips, big butt, and type of look. And so if you want to do that, you could just play on that role. Why? Because that's what you see. Why is it that they're into that kind of look? I don't know, to be honest with you, man. I personally, I do not know why. Like, I've dated, personally, I prefer to date women who are natural. I prefer to date women who kind of look like me, to be honest with you. But like these NBA players are just, or even rappers, they just have a certain similar type. They all look like Kim Kardashian. I don't know why, but if you understand that reality, you got to become that figment of their imagination.
Posted any nudity or adult content, which her army of simps was still waiting to see. However, by late 2000...
The Siren can also use clothing to hint at the sexual, at times overtly, but more often by suggesting it rather than screaming it. Related to this is the notion of selective disclosure, the revealing of only a part of the body, but a part that will excite and stir the imagination.
And even if it's sexual, for example, Alexis Texas never been with a black guy. As soon as she drops a video of her being with a black guy, that's gonna blow up because every dude has been waiting for her to do that and she hasn't.
It seemed as though this was also about to change. On the 27th of November 2020, Belle Delphine would make a Twitter post stating, "I can't believe I'm ending 2020 with a bang," indicating that she was gonna post an adult video toward the end of the year. On the Cold Ones podcast in October 2020, Belle Delphine perfectly explained why posting genuine adult content would be so successful for her.
I'm right on the cusp, right? I've never shown real nudity. And then going from that to like full on, I think someone wants to see it.
But in a state of infinite wisdom, Maximofo seemed far more lucid of the long-term dangers.
You can't undo it though, because it's like the machine you've built now is obviously extremely successful and profitable. And it's like, once you cross that boundary, you don't want to sell it for too less than what you're worth. Like, you don't want to get scammed.
Once the seduction is over, there's the danger that disenchantment will set in and ruin all your hard work.
Revealing more is not the solution. This guy is a smart guy because he understood the fundamental law of power, where it's all about teasing the imagination. It's all about showing showing some ankle, showing, like for example, like when I see a girl in a mini skirt, I know damn well my imagination is more stimulated than when I see porn. That's just a fact. And the reason why is because I want to see what's under that, ladies and gentlemen. Goddamn. I'm kidding. But that's the point. It's all about, it's enough for you to see, but not enough for you to know what it looks like, but enough for you to fantasize. It's almost like smelling food, right? It's not about giving you the taste. It's about giving you a smell of the food so that your imagination can fill in the rest.
Now, this was certainly correct. Belle Delphine had built this perfect structure that basically guaranteed a consistently returning audience. However, this isn't to say that Belle's opinion wasn't also correct. She knew that she was going to make some serious money off the stunt. In the lead up to releasing her first adult scene on the Impulsive podcast, Belle Delphine discussed how much money she was making on her Onlyfans.
The main people on OnlyFans are roughly earning the same, I think, from what I know. And at the moment it's like $1 million a month.
However, as the old saying goes, there's no such thing as free money, and the price paid by Belle Delphine for such an insane level of income was that she had to simultaneously sabotage one of the only things keeping her simp army paying attention, the fact that she hadn't done adult content. The adult videos would go live on her OnlyFans, and all seemed well initially. However, 2 months later, in February 2021, approximately 9 months ago, Belle would completely disappear from the internet once again. Now, it's possible that Belle simply got the bag and left the internet with her newly found fortune. However, unless Belle Delphine is secretly an extraterrestrial, human beings don't really work this way. Once we find something that works, we won't abandon it until it's no longer working. What's more likely is that she's trying to deliberately build mystery around her disappearance, which is exactly what happened perfectly with her previous break. She's well aware of the benefits in disappearing without saying anything. When asked about her previous 8-month hiatus, she thought taking a long break was going to end her career, but she was surprised to find everyone waiting for her when she got back.
What she pretty much did is friend zone the whole internet. Like, she just friend zoned the whole internet, where she teases them. She's like, come on, Bobby the programmer, come through. Yeah, let's hang out. But all she does is that she turns him off, turns him on, teases him, says nice things, gives him enough to maybe think that maybe next time he'll get some of the poom poom, right? Some of that anime poom poom, right? But enough to keep him coming back. And that will keep them coming back. It's not about giving them what they want. It's about making them dependent on you. And this is one of the laws of power that I break, because my goal is to give you guys freedom. But unfortunately, the law of power is keep people dependent on you. Don't give them enough information where they don't need you. And every person who has a successful career in terms of this has people depending on them. That's just a fact of human nature. And that's what she did. She keeps them dependent on her because they've invested so much that they don't want to go back and walk that long path that they already walked through. So it's a place that's what a lot of cults do, where they make people pay so much and they keep moving the goalposts that it's almost like the friend that says, I'll be there in 5 minutes. I'll be there in 5 minutes. I'll be there in 5 minutes. 2 hours later, you're like, what the fuck? And then you're like, seriously, 5 more minutes. And it never comes to happen. It's because human nature, it plays on our human weakness, which is if you want someone to behave, promise them a surprise, and you'll notice their willpower will increase.
My 1 year break, for example, it didn't, it was stressful at first because I thought my career was wrecked. But aside from that, I actually had a really good year.
Without a doubt, Belle Delphine thinks that this will be the case when she returns from her current break. Her previous hiatus lured her into a false sense of security, telling her that she can take time off and her audience will always be waiting for her when she returns. However, this time around, things will be much different. As mentioned earlier in the video, during her first hiatus, there was still so much mystery, so many unanswered questions surrounding the Belle Delphine story, and therefore her return was anticipated. Was the arrest story fake? How did this character come about? Did she have a boyfriend? How does this persona affect her personal life? People actually wanted to know more. 8 million people objectively wanted an exact update on what she was up to. However, this time around, all of the questions that kept the story interesting have been answered. She went on numerous podcasts over a 2-month period, explained her strategy around everything, then posted her highly anticipated adult content, and as a result, the story feels concluded.
She, in my opinion, did almost everything correct. She's literally seduced millions of men into giving her money. How do you know you're properly seducing a guy? They're giving you the resources. They're handing out the dollar billies, girl. That's how you know you're doing it. When a guy doesn't want to give you money, you're not doing it right. The way that men work is when a man wants you, they'll start getting selfish with other men, and they'll start being generous with you. That's how you know you're seducing a man, because what he is doing is that he's peacocking his resourcefulness. He is saying that if you get with me, this is what our child is gonna have, right? And so that's how you stimulate the fantasy. If you apply what she did in your daily life or even career, it doesn't matter what it is. If you apply what she did, you're gonna have untold power. It's not about it's not about seducing people and giving them what they want. It's all about seducing them by seducing their minds and learning to continually keep their minds stimulated with fantasy. It is pleasurable, it is an escape from reality, and they'll repay you for giving them that pleasure by giving them what they want, all right? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This video was really fun, people. It was a lot of work, but it was really fun to make. Let me know what you guys think of it. Let me know who else you guys want me to review. By the way, we're having a seminar in London. It's about how to create this type of charisma. To be honest with you, it's called the Charisma Code. Tickets are selling out soon, so click on the description down below to purchase it, because I'm only in London a few times every few years, people. One time every few years. So this is the only time I'm gonna be there. So if you're coming from another country, come, or else I'm closing the channel. And if you guys wanna work with me one-on-one, click on the description down below. If you guys wanna learn to apply this, you'll see a video that says work with me one-on-one. Or if you guys wanna purchase any of my courses, click on the description down below, and I'll see you guys later. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't purchased any of my courses, we have a special bundle deal for everyone. So that you could purchase all of my courses, meaning you could purchase the Psychological Game of Attraction, Natural Chemistry, and Nice Girl, along with all of the bonuses. Originally, if you purchase everything without the bundle, it'll be around $500, to be honest with you. But right now, if you guys purchase it with the bundle, you guys will be able to get all of these courses: Psychological Game of Attraction, which is for women who are single; Natural Chemistry, which is for women who are in a relationship; Nice Girl, which is a course on assertiveness, along with all of the bonuses: Social Mastery, Practical Mastery in terms of how to master anything, Social Mastery in terms of how to master your social skills, and The Laws of Human Nature, wherein it's part of the Robert Greene book club I used to have. All of these, naturally, like I said, it's $500. Now you get it at $394, which is essentially 20% off everything. But if you guys want to purchase a more affordable bundle, you guys can purchase the bundle without the bonuses, and that will be at $224 rather than the $300. Well, rather than the $293 that you guys would naturally purchase it. So you could purchase it with the bundle or without the bundle. You could purchase it with the bonuses or without the bonuses. It's all of the work that I put in the last 4 years, in the last 5 years actually, all of the research that I've done. And this course, rather than watching all of my videos, and because they could be random and you could sort of like lose the big picture because there's just so many videos, you guys get all of the content condensed in a course. Trust me, people, if you guys purchase this, you won't regret it. If you haven't purchased it, hopefully this will push you towards it, because it's something that I believe in, and everyone who's purchased my course have been satisfied with it. And if they didn't like it, I always give their money back. I have never rejected a refund. All right. So purchase it right now. Click on the description down below where it says purchase the bundle, and I'll see you guys inside.